Hey, I am so excited that you are here for another Embrace Your Brand podcast episode. One of the things I'm really excited today is I'm going to take you on a behind the scenes sneak peek into the workbook that I have created that is meant to really help you elevate your marketing game. It is meant to help you work through exercises, go through key concepts and things to really help you pinpoint a way to make marketing a natural extension of what you do in your business, and as well as make it a joyful experience, something that's fun that you look forward to. I know that that was a real game changer for me when I could actually look forward to the marketing aspect instead of thinking, I need to make some posts today. I need to get visible. I need to be in groups, or I need to record a podcast or whatever. Once I really started getting clear on the things that were my marketing strategies, they actually allowed me to use some of my strengths and use the things that I enjoyed and loved and were filled with like topics that I know about because they're about me and all this cool stuff. It really just made the tasks of marketing and brand awareness become that much more exciting to do, and that much more at ease of like, oh, I can do this. I can fit this into my day. I know how I'm going to do that and how I'm going to structure that. And then now I just have to focus on, sticking with my strategy and seeing what people I impact through that. So I'm going to give you a behind the scenes, a sneak peek kind of into the workbook. We're going to go over some of the key concepts to really help you understand like what this workbook could do for you and how it can help you in your business. Because the workbook has already launched. It is on my website. You can go and check it out. It's $52. And some people are like, give some things away for free, charge a low price. I put this book at 52 just so you're like, I see this as an investment. Okay, just wanted to clear that up and get that out of the way. You see this as an investment of if you're purchasing this, you're putting forth the time and effort to really go through it because it's like a journal. You do a lot of journaling, you kind of understand the concepts, and you also have the availability to add on additional support. Like you can work with me for a month as you go through this book to really like help you understand and implement the practices within. So we're going to dive into the game-changing workbook here where you can really master your marketing technique and how you approach your community and your audience in a way that is natural and joyful for you, that's showing up very, very authentic, because that's what I want you to do in your business, is to show up very authentic, very much like you, so that there's no miscommunication of you're one way in an online platform and another way in person, or you're one way in your marketing and you're totally different when someone is working with you. We want to kind of really make that harmonious and as cohesive as possible. So there are 4 principles that I focus on inside of this workbook. And they are 4 things that really just kept coming up for me over and over and over again as I was building my business and discovering like which direction I want to take. Because I've been in my business 2 years now. The first year I felt like was just, kind of like when you're going into a pool and you've dove in, you're like, I'm just trying to figure out what it is that I'm doing, get coordinated. The second year was more like, okay, I'm a bit more coordinated. I'm starting to swim now. I'm starting to gain some traction. And what was really cool is like these things kept representing themselves. Like it kept coming up. I did a lot of past reflection. Did a lot of reflection on like, okay, what have I done? What skills have I gained? What knowledge have I gained? What are all the things that is about me that lends to my skills and expertise and knowledge that I am bringing forward right now into what I'm doing? What am I still learning that's adding to what I'm doing? What are the things that I am excited about, that gets me lit up, that I'm obsessed with, that I lose track of time when I'm doing them? What are the things that really add joy to my life? What are those impactful moments, things that really stood out to me? Like just going through and doing a lot of this past reflection. I'll say it's very time consuming, but when you understand the value in it, there's value in the journey that you have been on up to this point that is going to add to the validity and the credibility of your brand and your business moving forward. Just today, I was in the car, coming home after taking the kids to school, and literally, I was just thinking of like, how would I define a brand? What's the difference between a business and a brand? And for me, it was like a business is a transaction. You have an exchange. You're exchanging your goods or services for, an income. Where I feel like a brand is how all of that feels, how all of that truly works. Like the experience before, during, and after that transaction. Like the brand part really just like wraps it all up in a pretty package and a pretty bow. And it's like, instead of someone just handing you a gift and saying, here you go, it's not wrapped, it's just like you already see it, like, oh, well, that was great. You didn't have that before experience of like, oh, I'm going to bring you a gift. Here's like this neatly wrapped package. You can't wait to open it and figure out what's inside. You have that anticipation and excitement. When you're opening it, you're surprised by the gift. And afterwards, you're like, I feel this gratitude. And they explain maybe to you why they picked that gift for you. Like there's so much more depth in a brand than just in a business transaction. So I felt like that was a really good way to explain it. And I wanted to share that with you. So when we talk about a brand, we are talking about our business, but we're talking about the depth and meaning and purpose of our business. If you listen to the last podcast I did, we really talked about, crafting your unique brand story and really diving into like, why does my brand exist? What is the purpose of it? What story am I telling that people are resonating with and gravitating to and, becoming these excited, loyal fans to? So that is like the first concept that we really dive into inside of the workbook. It is called the Embrace Your Brand Workbook. And I really, truly want you to embrace your brand. And if you're a solopreneur, a small business, this is ideal for you because you truly are your brand. Like you, the person that's doing a lot of the operations, that is giving out that main service, whatever it is, the one that's generating the product, you are your brand. So much relies heavily on you. So it makes sense to do this past reflection, to really get a grasp of like who you are, doing that self-discovery. Who am I? What have I been through? Why is this so important to me that I get this business up and going? And then we take a look at the second concept, which is our present. We have sometimes these big ideas of what we want to do in our business, but we're not there yet. Like if you're thinking, I want to open a storefront and I want to have a neat place for clients to come in and I can do coaching one-on-one, I can give them this service, or I could sell this product. But currently you're in your own home and you have a laptop, a phone, and that's about the extent of what you have. And you have, you're still wanting to offer this service or sell this product. You got to use what you have right now. And you have to use what time you have in your day, or you have to carve out that time that you need to work on this. So we took a look at like, what is your routine? What resources do you currently have right now? And how do you want to be spending your time? Because, we know things are the way they are right now, but they're always going to change and evolve and shift as time goes on. So if we have that big picture goal in mind of like, okay, in my business, I want to be working, a few hours a week. I don't want to be working 6 to 8 hours every single day. I just want a few hours, like during the time my kids are at school or my daughter's napping, like right now, so I can record this podcast. And, what is going on right now, I know how to work within that boundary. But I also am thinking of like future wise, what's going to be kind of happening in the future and how do I want to be working? I don't want to be all of a sudden working 40 plus hours a week on this business. I know what I want to be doing in the future. So I'm going to start shifting and working that way now and putting those constraints or those limits or boundaries on myself now so that later I'm not having to like, oh, I've got to rework all this. I've got to like cut back. I've got to outsource this. I've got to delegate that so that I can free up my time. I'm already thinking ahead of how I want to be spending my time. I want to be doing a lot of work in batches way ahead of time than doing things last minute. I'm that type of person. I want to do things ahead of time. I want to be very organized and get things like if I could picture the organization structure in my head, I'm super happy about that. So when I have that pinned out and thought out, and then I'm starting to work on it, whether it's weeks ahead or months ahead, then I feel really good about that. I'm like, I know what's coming up and I know what I'm prepared for. So knowing how you're spending your time right now, but also how you want to be spending it, as well as what are your current resources that you can use and work with, then, more things will become available to you. And probably one of the most important things about the present is like, who is in my current network? Who am I currently in community with? Because this is a very, very important thing to think about because people are vital for your business to be operating. You know, we can't really do business without somebody purchasing our product or service. So who do you already know? And who's in your community? What communities are you in? Because within that sphere of people, within that network that you have, there's going to be people who can be ambassadors for what you do, who will tell others about what you do, who will support you, who will share things that you put out. And, they may do that voluntarily. They may do that anytime you ask them to share something. And also within this network, there are people who maybe have heard of you or kind of know you, or they're a friend of a friend that really need what you have. They need your service. They need your product. They may just not really know about you yet, but you're going to be able to connect with them because you know somebody or you already know them, maybe just not on that level of working one-to-one yet. So your current network and your community is vital. If you don't know if the people in your community are ideal for what service or product you sell, that is a good opportunity for you to look at what networks or what communities or what groups do I need to start putting myself into. If you need to maybe level up your squad per se, level up your tribe of who you're spending time around to be the people that are ideal to either help you grow, because that's important too. You need growth, you need expansion, you need knowledge you can learn from people. So putting yourself in those type of communities, as well as putting yourself in communities where you have opportunities to meet the people who need you and what it is that you offer. If you're a coach that helps moms, getting into mom groups would be great. Getting, if there's like a group that meets at the library for story time that have little kids, that's an ideal place to kind of plug yourself into. If you're, wanting to connect with moms of like teenagers or something, go to ball games, go to school ball games and sit and talk and get to know these, other parents. And, there's no limit, I think, to where you can really begin to imagine and brainstorm of like, where can I be that my ideal client is going to be? Or that, I can be around the people who I know are going to help me to succeed in my business. So that's one of the second key frameworks of this workbook is really getting a grasp of like what's going on right here, right now. Because we really truly only have today. And it's just what we do on a daily basis that compounds over time that really changes the trajectory of our business, that helps us to be able to expand and to grow our business and our brand towards the goals that we have set, the things that we want to accomplish. So speaking of like the network factor, I have an episode that will be coming up not too long from now, in a couple of weeks, that is going to be with a fantastic guest, and she is all about networking. So I hope you'll stick around, subscribe to this podcast so that you will not miss that. She is all about networking. This is like her MO. This is what she does. And I'm like so excited that she is going to be an upcoming guest on this podcast to really share some strategic ways we can network and also build a very supportive brand community. So that's what she's going to be in here helping us to understand. So if you're already thinking you need to work in that area, you need to get some help with, how can you get into better networks? What can you do to be a better networker? All of those good things. Stick around because that episode will be coming out. But anyway, that is only 2 of the 4 concepts in the workbook. They're so vital. And the other last 2 are on perspective and purpose. And there will be another podcast episode where I'll kind of dive a little bit more into that, into more of the behind the scenes on those 2 things, because those are really, really important topics, because perspective is all about the attitude we have. It's all about the way we feel about ourselves, the way we feel about our business, because I feel like that can either kind of make or break us sometimes. I know for me, having a lot of doubts in the past, having a lot of, limiting beliefs or fears and not valuing myself really, really held me back from accomplishing bigger and better things. And that is something that really needs its own podcast episode. Like, I could not do it justice here talking about it right now with everything else we've kind of covered and touched over, because I don't want to make these episodes like too super long. And that is one of those things that is like, even though you know the past and what all has happened to get you where you're at, and you know what you have presently available to you, without the proper perspective on all of it, you're not going to get where you want to be. You're not going to grow the business that you really want to grow. There's going to be so many roadblocks holding you back that you need to work through to get the proper perspective of where you're wanting to go. And I'm even still learning more of this every single day and working on what perspective do I have? What attitude do I have towards my ability or to do the things I need to do in my business, or my ability to figure things out that I don't currently know, or my ability to find people to help me achieve more in my business, to teach me the things that I need to know. So that is a really important key aspect in this workbook, as well as the purpose. Like, once it's all together, here's our purpose. Here's what we're after. Here's what we're doing to actually achieve a successful and joyful marketing experience. So I'll leave you with that. If you're curious about the workbook, it's definitely a great investment to do, because it is something that is going to get a lot of these thoughts into one place. It's going to help you to make your own strategy. There are so many different, strategies, methods, and things like that that you can do for marketing. But this is really going to help you hone in on what is your specific technique that you're going to use. Because, like, you can use social media, you can use email funnels and landing pages and all sorts of stuff. But it's got to be in alignment with who you are, what you want to do with your business, and how you want to interact with your network and your people, so that it is cohesive with your brand for the long term. It might take, trying this for so long to see how it's working and tweaking as you go. But it's very important that you find your method. I think any method can succeed. Any strategy can succeed if you work at it and do it well, but we want to help you find your way of doing it, okay? Because it is your brand that you're embracing here. So if you want the workbook, I'm going to leave in the show notes a link to my website. You can find it there, as well as my email list, which is a really great place for you to get stories, podcast episodes, and also branding tips that will help guide you to really embracing your brand and building a very strong and authentic business, as well as using that integrity so that you are not only seen, but you are sought after and you are there to make your difference in the world. So thanks for listening to today's episode. I'll see you soon.